As described in Rule 8, each season consists of a game turn, which includes an axis, then an allied player turn. The game includes a detailed sequence of play, which consists of a single page. It is a very good guide on how to play. The game turn starts with both sides conducting research. On some turns, die rolls are made to determine weather effects, after which code-breaking cards are drawn. This brings us to the Axis player turn, which starts with Axis diplomacy. If the oil rules are being used, and eventually they will be, oil reserves are then replenished. BRP totals are then adjusted for transport shortages, mobilizations, and minor countries. Major powers may then declare war on other major powers or minor countries. Before moving, units may be voluntarily eliminated, usually for tactical reasons. The movement phase starts with the placement of airbase counters, then the movement, or staging, of air units to different bases. This is often followed by counter-air attacks against enemy air units, in order to achieve air superiority for the rest of the player turn. Naval units may change base during the movement phase or go on patrol, which can be thought of as changing base to a sea hex to get closer to the action. Once air and naval units have been repositioned, supply is determined. Ground units that are supplied may move, while ground units that do not receive supply may not. Air and sea transport gives ground units greater mobility than normal movement. Sea transporting air units is a type of long-range staging. Ground units move after air and naval units, and before combat. After ground movement is completed, overstacked ground units are eliminated. This is rare, as usually overstacked units may move to other hexes. The moving player then announces air and naval missions prior to announcing ground attacks. These missions may be opposed, triggering air and naval combat. Strategic warfare is then resolved. This includes strategic bombing, raiders, and submarine warfare. Before resolving offensive ground attacks, the attacking player may carry out airdrops, using airborne units to seize hexes, supplement intended attacks, and, most importantly, negate the defensive benefits of rivers. Ground attacks are then resolved. Normally, the attacking player will make all the intended ground attacks, but, strictly speaking, they are carried out sequentially, and in some cases, the result of one attack might affect whether another is made. After all regular ground attacks are made, armor units may exploit. Exploitation repeats the sequence of movement and combat, but only by exploiting armor units and unused air and airborne units. Attritions, which are a more abstract form of ground combat, are conducted after all offensive ground combat is resolved. At the end of the combat phase, some adjustments are made. These include deducting BRPs, removing minor country units, and restoring supply to isolated units. The construction phase is when units are built, including units lost in combat earlier in the turn. Units, including those just built, may then be redeployed. The sequence within the redeployment phase is important. Units may be tactically redeployed up to their movement limit. Units that intend to navally redeploy may then be strategically redeployed from objectives to objective ports. Units may then be navally redeployed by sea from port to port or to islands. After naval redeployment is done, units may strategically redeploy by land from objective ports to objectives. Units that navally or strategically redeploy may then again be tactically redeployed to adjust their final position. The final steps of the player turn include the potentially very important determination of major power resistance levels, which might trigger surrender.